Thanks for watching miasnewpairofglasses.com and welcome to part 11, Duped, in the Masters and Controllers series. When we thought we had woken, the first voices we heard from the truth community might have seemed like a breath of fresh air. Someone was talking about the things going on that we knew there were secrets behind. We were looking for the truth, so we searched for what was available and were led to those who were talking about subjects we wanted to know more about. The 9/11 cover-up, chemtrails, aliens and Area 51, the moon landing hoax, flat Earth, and many other topics were the first ones being discussed and the first topics we might have explored. It seemed like there were regular people, just like us, searching for the truth, and they had answers. But we've been duped big time, and when I say we, that includes me. I wasted a lot of time and energy because I did not stop and think for myself, and I fell into the traps that are there for a reason. Because we didn't understand the magnitude of what we were up against, the ultimate secrets that were being hidden, and the mastery of the plan that was in play long before we ever started searching, we fell into the traps. The question is not whether any of the information talked about is true or not, but more why this information is released and promoted on such a large scale, what the benefits are to the controllers who control the entire truth arena, and do these things really matter in the face of what is really being hidden? Or could it be that the controllers leave insignificant breadcrumbs that may or may not be true, designed to draw people away from the catastrophe's existence and keep the population running in circles while the EMCO clock ticks away? In this video, we are going to use a blatant example of someone who hopefully most know by now is a shill pushing a controller agenda topic. But the lesson is not in exposing this person and their topics. It's in the way the controllers have duped us all by using their knowledge of human nature against us and influencing our beliefs whether we consent to it or not. No matter who you are and what you know, you can bet that you are trusting someone who has been planted to deceive you, and you have taken part in things and subjects created to waste your time. You've watched hours and hours of videos that don't mean a thing compared to what you need to know about your world. For an example of this topic, let's start with a widely known puppet that covers a popular subject of much debate that has consumed many people's time and attention. And where there's one, there are many, many more. But in this video, we're going to talk about Dane Wigington on chemtrails and geoengineering. Dane sounded like he knew what he was talking about. We all wanted to know what was in chemtrails and what their purpose was, and Dane seemed to have answers. He supposedly tested waters at elevation, like on Mount Shasta, and found levels of barium, strontium, aluminum, and other chemicals that he attributed to what was named chemtrails. This was quickly adopted as fact by the truth community. But that is what he was reporting. Have you ever tested waters and found those chemicals? We were taking him on his and his team's word that that is what was found. A critical mistake that most have made is taking someone's word on something they cannot verify. Who named these trails coming from planes chemtrails, and why? It wasn't regular people like you and me. In this case, they used just one strategy of many: subtle mind control by using language. Who says these are actual chemicals in these trails? Oh, that's right, Dane, but we will get to him in a minute. By naming these trails in the sky chemtrails, the narrative was already controlled and the way people think about them was set from the beginning. From now on, we are taking back the narrative and calling them what they really are, particulate trails. For those of you who watched Brian's video on these trails in his Sun series, you know why that is. What we know for sure is these trails create clouds. And for rain, you must have particulates. This is just one way of many used to get particulates into the atmosphere to create rain for terraforming. We are sure there are other purposes, but at this point, knowing is not a priority. By using plants or shills who are steering the conversation from the topic's inception, they led people down a direction they wanted them to go, away from what they didn't want people to know. Here's a picture of Dane Wigington speaking at a conference about geoengineering on April 7th of 2019, posted in an article titled, "Geoengineering is Fueling Firestorm Catastrophes." The controllers always knew what would happen once the EMCO process started, so they devised the perfect cover to lead people to believe that the weather catastrophes were linked to geoengineering or global warming. They had to know the process would be slow and intermittent, which is why climate change and geoengineering was the perfect cover. Did anyone ever stop to ask some important questions about how people like Dane get exposure? How people like him get the microphone to sit in front of government officials, like in this image with Bill Vander Zalm, former Premier of British Columbia, Chief Executive of the province, a position similar to a governor in the U.S.? Or how he gets the funds to do all this research and traveling when that requires money, or how he gets invited to speak at conferences. How do conferences exist? They have to be sponsored. That requires money. Travel and lodging for speakers and participants alone costs a huge amount of money. Renting conference rooms, equipment, posters, promotion and advertising costs, dinners, galas, etc. Where does all this money come from? The controllers. Why do they support it? Not to disseminate useful ultimate truth. Doing an effective job at researching and disseminating the truth and supporting yourself on top of it takes money. We know that better than anyone. But these people need not worry about money because they are already financially supported. A main objective of conferences is to keep people focused on topics that cannot be proven or things we cannot change anyway. No one is stopping particulate trails, and though it isn't used for what we think, no one is stopping geoengineering. But as long as they keep people's attention and they keep the debate going, they waste people's time on things that don't matter in the face of what is coming. While people go to conferences, watch videos, and try to convince others of what they think they know, the controllers have been doing the most important thing that matters: preparing to survive the catastrophe. And everyone else has been talking. Another goal is to scoop up and guide anyone in the truth-seeking arena that has an audience. Not everyone in the discussion that speaks at conferences or has a platform is in on it, but what conferences and clubs within the community do is control the direction of what is focused on and discussed. You don't get to come to conferences and speak unless you speak about what they allow. You don't get promoted by the ones with the power who steer the community if you don't follow the narrative they want. Many actually believe what they are saying and believe in those who spearhead these topics. But it's because they are just parroting what others have said and they are not thinking for themselves. Whether they just want to be part of something or they want attention and fame, they are playing into the hands of the deception. They attempted to do that with Brian. He was asked to join a Flat Earth conference and many other platforms. He declined all offers. Dane and others like him are most likely CIA, and we've already talked about what the CIA is and who controls it. For the purposes of this topic, I am using him and the topics he covers as an example. But the amount of people like him are numerous. This is to give you a guide to hold up against anyone you may listen to and believe in. Deciphering the truth is about paying attention to detail. Take a real close look at Dane Wigington and tell me what you see. Do you see a slick, smooth talker hired to perform a role? In a professionally filmed studio environment, filmed by people who know what they're doing? Using clandestine government technological companies, access to information is controlled. The controllers keep people asleep through their control methods, like with things like entertainment, social media, news, and sports. The ones that wake up, they steer towards their shills and the topics already formed, and these listeners, already being exposed to the controller's narrative, really think that they are waking up. When people start searching, they have to do it on platforms that exist, like Google and YouTube, and those entities funnel people with search results and recommended videos to these CIA puppets. The result? Total control of all information. You have 3 kinds of people in the truth community and on YouTube. Number 1, the shills and CIA, paid by the controllers to say what they want them to say. Number 2, you have the parrots, people who parrot others and take shortcuts and follow the existing narrative because it sounds convincing instead of thinking for themselves. And the third kind is the real deal, people who understand the game and go against the narrative, seeking truth above all else, no matter what the cost. Unfortunately, Type 3s are in short supply, and you will rarely find them or hear from them. But if you do, you can bet that there will be large groups of paid agents attacking those people and smearing people's opinion of them. 95% of the people you listen to on YouTube are either purposely not saying everything and steering you away from what matters, or they just want to have exposure, so they follow the narrative so they can be promoted. Stop wasting your time on slick, likable content creators who ramble on for hours at a time on podcasts about theories and nothing truly verifiable. You may as well just be listening to Jim Carrey ramble in a comedy. Remember what it takes to get the studios, teams, equipment, exposure, and promotion of groups with influence in these communities. Remember, every time you focus on something that doesn't matter, there is a high cost that you will pay in the end. The only thing you can rely on is what you can see with your own eyes, know by experience, or figure out by critical thinking. But people want to take shortcuts, and those shortcuts have wasted months and years of valuable time that have kept them from the only thing that matters, the truth about the EMCO.
The problem with most people is that they don't believe something can happen until it already has. It's not stupidity or weakness. It's just human nature.
I'm a resident of Fishley. I run a business called Truffle Lodge, which is a spa with luxury accommodation. When the flood came in as fast as it did on Friday, I remained at Truffle Lodge until 11 o'clock on Saturday morning. Lost power, and then it realised it was sensible that I had to leave. Underwater, totally can't operate at the time being, and I don't know for how long. The news in the last 40 minutes or so that my insurance company have excluded flood from my policy.
Right. That wasn't what you expected.
No.
No.
So I feel really selfish in saying this, and I hope that other people in this village aren't in this boat. But I've lost my home and my business and my livelihood that I've worked so hard. And the girls who work for me or work with me, there's their livelihoods as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of them that, they're only young. Some of them have got, young families. And I've tried to look after them the best I can. And
Well, hopefully the insurance company will reconsider.
I think it will be unlikely, because I would think they will say there's a flood exclusion policy in place.
But it doesn't flood here though?
Fish Lake has never flooded in 100 years.
Yeah. But it doesn't flood here though?
Fish Lake has never flooded in 100 years.
Yeah.
So my, if you want to say anger, is with why has it now flooded? That it's happened, so we need to now establish why and how. So my, if you want to say anger, is with why has it now flooded? That it's happened, so we need to now establish why and how.
The problem with most people is that they don't believe something can happen until it already has. It's not stupidity or weakness. It's just human nature.
Time is the most important thing you have. Prioritize it. Stop squandering it.
There is a storm coming! Like nothing you have ever seen! And not a one of you is prepared!